Well, hello everyone. Patrick Batty of Pickleball Today, and I am here with my partner in crime, Johan Friesen. How you doing, Johan?
I'm doing great, Pat. Nice to see you again, and nice to be back in the recording studio.
Yeah, it's been longer than it should have been, but anyway, life got in the way a few times for both of us. We have a really exciting episode today. We're going to be talking about pickleball eyewear. Now, you and I both have worn pickleball eyewear for, in my case, a year. I don't know about you, but a year and 2 years, pardon me, for me. But I'm a big fan of eyewear. You came up or found a brand that you used, and I only tried it recently, and I loved it. And we have a special guest today, and the guest is Brad Robbins. He runs the company called Kitchen Blockers, and they have their own brand of eyewear. They're a lensless, if that's the term, glasses. But we're going to talk to Brad. Brad is a multi-faceted guy. When I met him a week ago, we must have chatted for an hour because he's just a lovely guy and a fascinating guy. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. I'm looking forward to hearing from him on that too. As somebody who's a big advocate for the product that he has, having come from a black eye myself, but was dangerously close to causing a major injury, trying to find the perfect fit glasses and the eyewear just to keep playing the sport.
Yeah.
And then coming across these and now getting to talk to the guy behind it. I mean, I'm pretty jacked about this.
Well, and again, I'm not just the eyewear, which I'm impressed with. The Brad is just a really fascinating guy. So anyway, we'll get into that in a bit. First off, let's talk about MLP briefly. A couple things. We want to talk about MLP. Now, Major League Pickleball, last weekend, it was in Columbus, Ohio, but a lot of things happened there. I don't know if you watched much of it or any of it, Johan?
I did. I watched quite a bit of it, not to the degree that you did.
Yeah.
I tried to squeeze it in where I could, and I was watching a lot of it after the fact.
Yeah.
Whenever anybody, including Pat, was trying to tell me about it, did you see what happened? And I was like, okay, don't tell me. It's kind of the didn't want any spoilers. But I did manage to catch up on quite a bit of it. But it looked to be a pretty exciting one, specifically St. Louis too. I was very impressed.
Yeah. St. Louis is a great team. They were great last year as well. I haven't watched a lot of pro pickleball on TV recently. I watched everything last year, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and play and not be watching these people play on TV nonstop. So I haven't watched much this year, but I did watch a lot of that tournament. And I think it was kind of rainy weather and whatever here or something too that had me inside. But a couple things of note that happened. First of all, there was the F-bomb heard around the world, and which, I mean, it's kind of petty and it's kind of childish and it's just human. But was it Hayden Patrickin called Annalee Waters an effing B word, and then Annalee goes back into the players area. Well, they were coming off the court. Then Annalee and team goes into Hayden's space where his team was, and I don't recall if there was shoving. I don't think there was shoving matches, but there was a big hefty guy in the middle of it, and they challenged each other and things like that. And first off, I would just a lot of controversy about it, but I don't think any punishment or harm done.
No, and I think you saw that in a lot of the post-event interviews too, where even Hayden was saying, like, listen, tempers fly, and the competitive nature of the sport is such that sometimes you kind of get into these heated exchanges, and it seems to be pretty natural. I mean, it's like the case with any sport, whether it's hockey, pickleball, or otherwise, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and Hayden's a young guy, and I've been known to put my emotions on my sleeve as well, especially if I don't know if he lost that match or not. I can't remember that one. But anyway, I've not called anybody anything on the court, but I've mumbled a few things a few times.
I think we all have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's part of the competitive nature, I think. And
but anyway,
kind of
that being said, social media being social media and people being people, it blows up into a mega issue and things like that. But I didn't think it was a big deal. A couple other things I noticed. It was the first time that Catherine Parento faced off against Annalie Waters in the women's doubles. I don't remember all the matches right now off the top of my head, but I think they won in doubles, Catherine and her partner, which was, Rachel Rohrbacher?
Rachel Rohrbacher, yeah.
And whereas, who was Annalie playing with? That wasn't her mom in that one, was it?
Anna Bright.
Anna Bright, which that's a tough team, man. Annalie and Anna Bright, that's a tough team. And yet Catherine and Rachel beat them, right?
That's the LeBron and Kobe of pickleball right there. I mean, those two, I think you put them together, it's an unbeatable team. And,
Yeah.
Also, LeBron, if you want to join us one day and kind of, testify to that, you're welcome.
Yes. I imagine he could hit a pickleball pretty hard.
I would hope so.
Yeah, they are, obviously the skill level of both, but also the competitive level of both, or competitiveness level of both is pretty intense, right? But I can see the competitiveness level in Catherine as well. She gets that chin out and looks really determined, and then she's just a great player, right?
Well, I think also switching partners, as she did, and having played with Annalie Waters for so long, you almost have something to prove at this point to say, listen, it wasn't just you carrying that team to that level of success previously when we were together.
Yeah.
Now that she's with a new partner on a new team, I think she kind of has that motivation to really kind of show her stuff, that she is fit to be there. And I thought she did well. She performed well overall.
Yeah.
Always fun to watch.
I will want to mention one other event that was kind of a big event, but we're going to get Brad into it more about this one. It's Colin Johns and Ben Johns kind of pulling out, based on the lighting. This facility is an indoor facility. It's well known that Ben Johns doesn't like playing indoors, period. He always feels lighting is inadequate. This place certainly looked well lit. Brad was there. He can tell us what he thinks about it. But a couple other items. Just we gave away a few paddles in the last month. These were to young players that play at our own club, and gave away a nice double black diamond, 6-0 double black diamond paddle to a young fellow, Fernando. Fernando hails from Brazil, right?
I think so. Yeah.
And fairly recently moved here, but one of the loveliest young kids I've ever met. I mean, just such a nice young guy
and talented.
And talented.
He's really come around to the sport,
and he's new at it. And we only have a few young players at our club right now. And then the other player we gave it to was a young fellow named Ripley. Again, is a really good player. I played with him yesterday, by the way. He's also a hockey player locally in our provincial junior A, Cambridge Redhawks, as well. But anyway, just a really nice young fellow, and I want to encourage them. And so we got him a Selkirk Labs 008 paddle. I know, Johan, you contributed to it. Sam Chen did as well. I did, and actually Selkirk did. So
and a big thanks to Sam as well
for Sam for arranging it, and thanks to Selkirk for the code to make it more affordable because they're not cheap paddles. So, but they are good. And the same with the 6-0. They are a really good paddle. I've been using 6-0 since they started, and have played with them, sold a lot, and in fact, Pickleball Today was their leading affiliate. We're the leading affiliate in Canada for 6-0, but I just liked them right off the bat, and there weren't many, and it was before it was in retail. We sold a lot. We sell them still. But speaking of that, if anybody interested in paddle discounts, we do have a page on our website. It's pickleballtoday.co/paddle-discounts. We'll put links in the show notes. And we are giving away more paddles. We have a contest every month where we give away paddle, and you can win a paddle at pickleballtoday.co/win. And that basically will ask you to share and like and comment and do all kinds of things and every time you do one of these things, you're going to get more chances. And we don't get millions of contestants. So you have a good chance of winning a paddle. Someday we'll get millions of contestants and we'll give away a lot more paddles. But right now it's tens of tens, maybe hundreds, and your chances are pretty good. So please don't hold back. Let us know what you think and share. It's easy. That's so last paddle item. I noticed at the MLP, a bunch of Selkirk signed pros were playing a new paddle that has not been released yet. It's obviously legal and approved. And it was an SLK paddle. They have not put it out. It's not for sale. I believe it's called the SLK Era is going to be a line. It looks like ERA. And the SLK Era Pro Power looks like a nice paddle. SLK is kind of a mid-range value line within Selkirk. I really like the SLK line of paddles. And here's the top players in the world playing this one. Surprised it's not one of their top line, the more expensive paddles, but they may have variations of them coming. So there's no news on it at all. I just noticed it, and it was played by like James Ignatowicz, Catherine Parento, Jack Sock, a bunch of other players. So kind of interesting to see, and I expect when they've got it out there, it'll be out within a month or so, maybe a few weeks. And that said, I think that's it. Anybody want to help us out? Click like, click subscribe, whether you're on your whatever you can do on your podcast thing, follow us. And again, all these will give you a credit if you sign up for the paddle win page at pickleballtoday.com/win. That said,
now we get to the good part, Patrick. This is what we were waiting for all day.
Than we expected. We want to bring on Brad Robbins. Brad, if you can unmute your mic and say hello, we'll get you on screen.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to join Pickleball Today and their podcast.
Hey, thank you, Brad.
Welcome.
And you are rocking your kitchen blockers.
I sleep in them everywhere I go. I'm making sure I don't get hit with any foreign objects.
That's fantastic.
I've seen some of your videos where you're out on the streets wearing them, and I haven't done that, but you as an owner, I can understand that. I think it. Anyway, wanted to welcome you to the show. We had a great talk the other day. I wish I would have recorded it. It was, but we'll recreate it a little bit today. Still unscripted, just like before. Before we even get started, Brad, you have a massive, much more than kitchen blockers, a massively interesting background. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So just back to the kitchen blockers point. Yes, I do test everything personal. It goes back. Probably, Patrick, you'd relate to, I think in the 80s, there was a gentleman named Victor Kayam. And Victor Kayam was so impressed with the Remington shaver, he bought the company.
Yep, I remember that.
And tested all his shavers. So I test as many blockers as possible and make sure that they do everything that they say they do.
Yeah.
So just wanted to touch on that. Thank you again for having me join you and all the great work you gentlemen are doing of spreading the joy of pickleball to the community and to various communities around North America, I'm assuming, and maybe rest of the world.
Yeah.
I always describe myself as a young old guy. I'm proud that I'm now turning 65. Unfortunately, when you turn 65 and you play pickleball singles, there's not that many opportunities out there. So I am looking for 65-year-olds who play singles pickleball in any competitive way, and that could be anywhere in North America. But that being said, my family was actually from a legal background, and I really didn't have interest on being a lawyer, and it wasn't something necessarily my dad enjoyed as a occupation. So I got into advertising, and I really enjoyed and fell in love with storytelling and conceptualizing and creating ideals and impressions with people, and how to really bring a greatly constructed product or service to life. So I did go to university, actually graduated a BA area of no concentration, which describes me pretty well. You could get that at Western Ontario at that time, and volunteered at an advertising agency because I wasn't really that interested other than handing my dad a diploma, and started in the advertising career, and got a call one day from a lady who had provided me advice and said, "We just landed a new piece of business. It's a microcomputer. It's something they've got a really imaginative design and two passionate developers. One was a bit more marketing, one was a bit more guts, and it was called Apple. And would you like to be on our launch team?" So I was very fortunate enough as a young person to help launch the computer company Apple. And in the early days, we did, there were no rules. It was completely irreverent, and we were trying to be insanely great, and the product was insanely great. So we did some crazy things in terms of the Super Bowl. We had a very memorable commercial on the Super Bowl, and with the pull-down menus and things people are comfortable with now, Apple became a way of life. And
the iconic Super Bowl ad was goes down as one of the greatest ads in history.
Exactly. And we really tried to own any medium. So as an example, when we were launching, a popular Canadian magazine was Maclean's at the time. How much would an ad cost to be in Maclean's? Well, no, we're not interested in that. We want to buy the entire magazine. So we would buy the 48 pages of advertisements and make it basically a Apple tutorial in conjunction with the editorial.
Wow. Well, that's so interesting.
So it would be different things like that. And there came a time where there was the Americanization of Canadian advertising. So we were a very irreverent, out there, in your face advertising agency. And the Americans felt that based on the commonality of our populations at that time, there was better economies of scale of just running U.S.-based creative, and decided I'm not really good at taking orders or following creativity that I was not a fan of, and I sold my agency and moved on to some other efforts. And one of them was a younger friend of mine had another agency. It was more an activation agency, more of a promotional, or when you go to events. And he had a godfather who had just landed the rights to a new piece of business. And the piece of business was another sort of technical device, but it was more for kids. He had a product called Sony PlayStation. And so we're fortunate enough to launch this gaming console, and there was a U.S. agency that was part of it as well. And I went down there and started to have a conversation with them. And it was funny; there were these older gentlemen who ran GMC and Ford's punt, pass, and kick.
Yep.
And they ran this different promotional things. And they said, Brad, a young man came in off the street. And he said he had this social utility, and basically he was trying to have communications at university with females, and every time they sat down at the lunch table, etc., it really didn't go like it necessarily he thought was as good as it could. And he went back to his room and he created some coding, and figured out these algorithms of how he could digitally have conversations and electronically build relationships. And the gentleman's name was Mark Zuckerberg, and he created a social network called Facebook. These Punt Packets Kiss guys, they exchanged for the opportunity to advertise and sell the advertising on Facebook, a percentage of Facebook, and said, hey, you know what? We want to launch this in Canada. Would this be something you'd be interested in doing? So myself and the young man who had a PlayStation, we were fortunate enough to launch Facebook at that time. And you can see how it's generationally changed. That was focused on university kids. And how could we communicate to them about their university life, about their first bank account, about when they became legal age and had their first beer. So we had a plethora of big advertisers that wanted to communicate to that audience and weren't sure, like the beer companies, like the banks, etc. And as we are today, Facebook is definitely more a 35, 45, probably 50 plus communication piece.
Yeah.
Long form, more conversations. Probably, Patrick, you and I are on it. Johan, not sure about yourself. You look a little bit younger.
I have to be for work, Brad. It's a thing.
And I'm mocked by being on it by my kids. So you're right. It is definitely an older thing. I talk about being, well, number one, right place, right time in a couple opportunities. But two, it's probably not a coincidence. You know, it's like you're really blessed in a certain way. But also you probably, it can't be a coincidence on how successful they were with you being involved. I think you must have had something to do with it.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, the entrepreneur's mind and what they're trying to accomplish, you have to stay in certain guidelines, but not that many.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you don't have a quality good or service, you're going to be exposed. And it's an interesting thing because we will get into that when we're talking about MLP and pickleball team sport.
Yeah.
Because when it was conceptualized, I'm not sure what the goal was other than VCs saying, hey, this is a sport that's starting to trend in the right direction and wouldn't be cool to make a league. And you can see that in terms of when you're talking about the Canadian League and the identity of that and what truly does it roll up to or not. And I'm asking more questions than answered, but you know, we'll touch on that when we get to the area. But
if I can just interject for one moment before we get into the MLP, I believe I forgot to mention we are going to be at the team event this weekend, the Canadian National Pickleball League, which is the same kind of team format sport. And I wanted to just mention to people that goes on Saturday and Sunday. We've been involved with them since they started, covered tournaments in Ontario, in a couple of places, a number of places in Ontario. I went to Western Canada for one in Edmonton. I actually fell in love with Edmonton when I went there. I think it's a cool place. I hope it remains part of Canada, but that's.
Did you go there in the winter, Patrick? Or?
I did not. No,
that's really cool. That's why you only like it in summertime, I think. So speaking of which, since Patrick and I are going,
just to finalize, I just wanted to mention the location, the CNPL. That's at what was the name of that club?
Smash,
yeah, Smash Pickleball, Warncliffe Road in London.
So Patrick and I will be there, taking in the sights and sounds and hopefully talking to a few people,
players and things.
So what I really want to get down to, Brad, and is how did you come up with the concept? So, like Patrick mentioned earlier, I've been using these for many months now, and looking for a particular pair of safety glasses. I came across the kitchen blockers and I ordered a pair. And I've never looked back. So, I mean, but the concept is so interesting. And I kind of want to know sort of the nucleus of it. I'm dying to know. I didn't have that sort of pre-conversation like Patrick did. So he has all the background history, but he didn't spill the beans.
I got into so many things. We both got into so many things in our discussion. I probably didn't get a lot of the history neither.
Yeah. So I'll dovetail in one other thing, and then that'll end us on the kitchen blockers. So as I mentioned to you guys off air, I have 5 daughters, and after the 5th daughter, I said, my wife and I both, no more daughters, and I would have been a bad hockey dad. And I went and bought a junior hockey team. Patrick, when you were referencing that hockey team, it's a provincial junior A hockey team, not a provincial-based hockey team.
Okay, thanks.
And really loved the ownership aspect and watching young men pursue their goals and their dreams, which were to be scholarship athletes by the gift they had hockey, or be professional hockey players. So did that for a little bit, and then got in the representation business, represent professional athletes. Tennis players, traveled the tour with various Canadian tennis players, do naming rights, was involved. You mentioned Edmonton, so helped a gentleman named Daryl Cates acquire the naming rights first for Edmonton, which was Rexall Place. We did the tennis center, Rexall Center, and then fortunate enough and really with Daryl's vision to own the Edmonton Oilers, and then started getting involved with hockey. And hockey, what I specialize in is I call engaged passion, personal branding, and lifestyle management. Do that for business leaders, philanthropists, but mainly professional athletes. And that they have a story to tell. They want to make a difference, a meaningful difference, and they want to reach people other than their own performance in things that are uniquely important to them. Or as a fan, you want to understand and learn a little bit more about them. So to be a marketable athlete in this country, you need to be a hockey player. To be a truly marketable athlete in this country, you need to be a Toronto Maple Leaf or a Montreal Canadian. And then you need to be a top 10 hockey player to truly make dollars and endorsement opportunities off the ice. Been fortunate enough to advise and represent a lot of those individuals. Historically, been to 5 Olympics. 4 of them in and around or with a part of the Canadian team. I have a propensity that I work with goaltenders in terms of also providing vision, how they see the puck, what happens to do with that. In terms of, for your viewers, a very dear friend and a client for about 16 years, his birthday last week, a gentleman named Martin Brodeur. If you have an older audience, they would know. A guy who's doing really well right now in Carolina, Frederick Anderson, a young man who won the Stanley Cup out of Lloyd Smith, Saskatchewan, Braden Holtby, and probably my most popular client in that position would be a no longer young man, but incredibly thoughtful and really touches this country, a gentleman named Carey Price. So I'm fortunate enough to work with them, the Howe family, and if you name somebody, chances are I've been in and around them and talking about how to make a difference.
Wow.
Which, Johan, leads me to being an athlete myself, played a lot of different sports, was a pretty competitive tennis player, played at university. Unfortunately, when I played hockey in my 20s, which was old men's league hockey, I didn't use my head as well as I should, and threw a guy about 260 over my leg. And Patrick would understand this, Johan, not sure. I Joe Theismann my leg.
Oh my God. I just got nauseous.
Yeah. I did a triple compound fracture in my lower tibia and fibia, and needless to say, wasn't supposed to do anything anymore. And my tennis career and playing singles that way was for naught. And saw this game called Pickleball and started to play it quite frequently and quite competitively, and felt it could really adapt to something I love doing. And really, as importantly, I've made some investments in youth sports over the years, moving around about 1 million high-end youth in terms of lacrosse, football, hockey, soccer. So a Connor and a John Tavares and those people, when they were 13 or 14, would play. It was called the Brick when they were young kids, then the Quebec Pee Wee tournament. Then we would take traveling all-star teams to like Bolzano, Italy, or Chamonix, or Philadelphia, and they play best on best.
Wow.
So
Okay.
the best Russian kids who were 13, the best Swedish kids, etc., would compete, and it was a chance to see their development at that time.
Yeah, I didn't want to interject earlier. I will. A couple things. First of all, Carey Price, my favorite hockey player of all time. So,
see, I was a big Marty Brodeur fan. I love Marty Brodeur.
Yeah. Also, I did. I wanted to question one thing you mentioned about being marketable if you're a Maple Leaf, but what about Edmonton with, the great players in Edmonton?
Connor McDavid.
Yeah. Zach Hyman's been a young man that's been in my life for a long time.
Yeah.
We did some optimization of footwear with one of the leading return to play specialists, a good friend of mine. So we've really worked on how to create a foot plant that will increase downward pressure, and your downward pressure can improve your edging and your movement. So if you looked at the top 10 players in the world, they would be in that product or have been in that product.
Okay.
So if you name them, they would be in that product. And really, as I got into pickleball, I politely got out of the sports advising thing in terms of hockey players. Carey is still part of my life, and a few others, but I guess there were about 30 at one time, and now it's just a handful. But where I was going is when I explored pickleball and saw the early database that they had put in place, it blew me away. That if you look at other sports and other youth sports, and then they project or advance to adults, there's no capturing of anybody other than the elite. And in pickleball, what they managed to do at a very early start was, and it was even before Duper, but let's say a 2-5, 2, a 3, or whatever, there was a list of those players that wanted to play in tournaments and compete and meet new friends.
Right.
And it was incredibly extensive, state to state, town to town. And it's one of the reasons that another early pickleball player, a gentleman named Tom Dundon, Tom would be the chairman, I believe, of now the Unified UPA.
Yes.
From a hockey perspective, he owns the Carolina Hurricanes. From a golf perspective, he owns Top Golf. And I think he's the one who brought whatever the football league is with the Rock or whatever that other league.
The XFL. Yeah.
Correct. But Tom had an incredible vision, but I believe probably the thing that intrigued him the most was, if I can acquire this database, I can really talk, sell, and communicate to the audiences around North America where I see a footprint that's starting to happen. And that being said, I'm a player that wanted to compete and try my skills wherever, but most importantly, to interact and meet other people and understand what their passion and their direction was. So 3 years ago, myself and my partner, he goes by Dave Catman Katz, an exceptional 60-plus pickleball player, taught me a ton and could kick my butt on, not most days, all days. So we went to a tournament that looked like it would be wonderful in Cincinnati, the site of where the ATP event is. It was in early fall. We were playing in I think it was 50 plus men's doubles. And I got hit in the eye. And my eye started to puff up, and realized that I used to play squash with my dad. I didn't play a lot of sports with my dad because he was always taking charge of the middle, and meaning, okay, in squash, as you gentlemen know, that's the tee. And I would get one cuffed in the head with the racket, be cut open, and go, okay, well, the tee's all yours, Dad. And early on saw the importance of eye protection. So Dave and I were driving back from Cincinnati, and I said, this business is exploding. There's incredible opportunities. Where has there been an early adoption? Where has there been early saturation? So we look at, like you gentlemen talked about, the paddles. Okay, so the paddles, a lot of them were being made overseas. There seemed to be different variety. There seemed to be different price points. That being said, the price points were continuing to climb and climb and climb and be the equivalent of a tennis racket. Hard to believe, but supply demand. And then various unique features that enhance that certain player's performance, or at least great storytelling about what a Selkirk 08 is different than a Ben Johns Precious or a Black Diamond or a 6.0.
Or a carbon true foam, for example, just because I have to throw that carbon stuff in.
Exactly. So how do you navigate? How do you navigate in terms of whatever's happening? That goes to tools of the trade. And to me, from a professional standpoint, if you can enhance your tools of the trade in any way, it'd be crazy not to, if the affordability isn't a problem. And in our rec world, what do we like? What are we comfortable with? As we advance, what do we will challenge ourselves with more? There's a ton of demoing of this, so you can really experience it. But that being said, it was a very crowded space early on.
Yes.
And you would require significant marketing dollars to stand out and separate yourself from the pack. And again, most importantly, sports is it tends to be triggered or grown by following somebody aspirationally that you like their values, enjoy what they're about, what they stand for, or their performance. So we can go between an Andre Agassi, a Pete Sampras, a Roger Federer. You're a Roger fan, you're a Rafa fan. We can go to hockey, we can go to football, we can go Kobe, LeBron, Magic, whatever. And they stand for what I believe in. Not that way in pickleball, right? Pickleball, you're talking, and we referenced at the start about a pro game. Well, does a pro game create an umbrella or a drive for everything that we're doing and getting on the court? And when I finish this broadcast, I want to play or work on my dink. And to me, the answer is absolutely not. They are two separate verticals that one is trying to become what it could be. I question if that'll ever be the case. And it is not driving the bus. Recreational participation in a joyous activity where anybody of any age can exercise in a way they're comfortable exercising, and seeing that they can accomplish stuff really quickly compared to other sports and have just amazing time doing it is what's superseding and why this game is exploding. We're talking about ping pong on steroids, and steroids is not the right way to use it, but you understand that anybody can pick up the game within 30 minutes and have a great time within 60 minutes. Going back to my 5 daughters, I dreamed of playing competitive tennis with at least 3 of them. We could have a great doubles game. Never, ever, ever happened. I don't believe it ever would. Pickleball can get on the court with any of them, my wife, quite honestly, anybody, and have a great time. And that's what's so special. So let me know if you want me to keep rambling or you want.
I had a couple questions. Sorry, Patrick, I was going to jump in here.
Okay.
So as quickly as as quickly as one can pick up pickleball as a sport, it only takes a split second to get hurt. Now, last summer I was playing with a group of guys that were far more advanced than I was, and I managed to get a ball right above the eye, and I had a black eye for weeks. Which really kind of prompted this movement. So I'm curious to know, like, after your injury, where your eye swells up and you realize, like, oh man, I should have taken some precautions here. How did the concept get born? I'm fascinated by the concept itself.
So thank you for that, Johan. So basically, on our drive home, we went through the paddles, then we went through the balls, and went, okay, somebody's making a lot of money on this. It's got to be 5 or 10 cents to make. $495, $595, whatever. What's missing here? And I'm looking, I have ice on my eye, and I'm going, I just don't understand why there's not a mandate for eyewear in this game.
Right.
It makes no sense whatsoever. And as you said, Johan, as people speed up and there's a little apprehension, or, oh, am I somewhere where it's going to nail me? That is a certain section of what's happening, but a majority of the eye strikes are deflections from unexpected areas. My partner got off the edge of his paddle. I had this. He swung through it. Whatever happened, and it happens more in the beginner stage than at any other stage, other than the highest professional level, where somebody could seriously fire and go at your head. So I said to Dave, eyewear. Nobody is talking about eyewear, and when you look at it, if anybody is, it's coming from a different sport, and they're labeling it saying we have now adapted to pickleball for pickleball eyewear too. It was not customized and not designed and not to take into place what goes on a court, the trajectory, where the ball comes from, and it wasn't a priority. Well, for me, with the ice on my eyes, it was a priority. And I was fortunate enough because a lot of my ventures and travels over my career have been meeting or connecting people together. And I had a nephew who was always passionate about hockey and loved engineering. And he worked for Warrior and Bauer and designed goalie pads, goalie equipments, helmets, etc. And went away to a U.S. institution, I believe it was RPI, and took an engineering degree and was excited to be in the hockey design business. And being in the business myself, I said, Adam, that's wonderful, but hockey is a regional or a national sport for ourselves. And in terms of truly making a difference in design and creating the best monetization for you long term, maybe you want to explore some other things. So he ended up applying and getting the job, and now he's a senior engineer with one of the leading NATO military helmet and eyewear design companies. And we had lengthy conversations and brainstorming. Dave Catman, myself, Dave's son Shane, and Adam, and said, okay, so what can we do that's truly designed for pickleball? And what is it telling us that the people that are either squatting or saying they're in the business really are addressing? Well, they're addressing if somebody wants to wear something, they should wear something. Then you look at outdoors, especially I play mainly in the Western U.S. in California and Arizona during the winter. There's sun. People are wearing sunglasses. So our view is anybody who is wearing any protection whatsoever is a good thing. But then when you go under the hood, how much of a good thing is it, or how much of a dangerous thing is it? And Adam really took the feedback and the input he had gotten from I'll say it, from snipers and from people who were using high-end guns and artillery in terms of what was their perspective, how could they make sure there was no outsized noise or outsized imagery, and how could you focus on target and what that target would be. Then we looked from design standpoint, what was unique and what could we create that was true to pickleball. So with pickleball, what we saw was when you get normally struck or the deflections hit you, they happen at the kitchen line. They don't happen traditionally when you're at the baseline. And they happen when somebody speeds up. So one of the things we wanted to make sure that we created and put in our design was a reverse half moon, which we call we use for speed ups, right? So it was specifically designed in terms of this proprietary patented element. The curvature in the area is for if you're seen and you can spell it on the side from a depth perception. And what we noticed in terms of that, nobody was thinking about indoor activity. Nobody was thinking about when you wear a mask or a shield on your face, condensation, fog, glare. Right. So how could we take all of those elements out? Well, pretty easy. Let's design it without any lenses. And when you look at when people talk about lenses and the refraction and the numbers that you would see on any sunglass, well, if it's too bright and you're not wearing a hat, put on some glasses. No problem. But if you're indoors and the incandescent light is bothering you or the glare, hey, we've got the ultimate solution.
Take note, Ben Johns. Like if you still want to protect your eyes and play in different types of lighting, I guess here's your chance.
Hey, Johan, may I just interrupt for a minute? I just want to encourage people to like and subscribe and leave some comments for us. And also, we have a discount code for kitchen blockers, and we'll leave a link in the show notes. The discount code is PBToday 10% discount. And just from Brad, shipping is from Canada. In Canada, where does it ship in the U.S.? In the U.S.,
we ship from Canada as well.
Okay.
So basically, we've been working on this for almost 3 years. It was 2.5 before we brought it to market. Dave Catman Katz, who's in charge of all product development. He comes from a background in terms of industrial production, uses of plastics, etc. Worked hand in hand with Adam. I'm, as you can see, more of the marketing, packaging, promotional guy, and looking longer term of aspirationally how to build graphs, how to penetrate different audiences, how to get trial, how to solicit feedback, and how to continue to refine. So between our speed bumps and the use of original perception of coming back, let's do Model 1, let's do Model 2, let's do Model 3. Let's start with a black and white color. Let's see what the popularity is with that. What would be the next colors to add? Well, a pink and a blue seem normal. And then we've had a sense of feedback that I think it's perceptually more than a reality. But when you think of anything under your face and being distractive, clear is a natural solution. So we now have a clear product. It's interesting because if you think about a Canadian consumer and a Canadian sports participant, most of them came out of playing some sort of hockey, lacrosse, etc. They've worn masks.
Yeah.
They've worn masks with a lot of bars in front of them. And there's no question about perception or seeing through that because your eyes customized to the situation.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah.
So one thing I noticed is it almost seems as though you've perfected the design right out of the gate. At least that's what it appears like to me. I wasn't there for the 3 years of R&D that went into this and the research materials, the testing and everything else. But, for a guy that's coming into the sport, picks up a pair of these glasses, I was using these head safety glasses. And then I ordered a different type that was kind of half and half, like the bottom part of the lens was cut out so I could kind of look through that. But it still had a little bit of a lens that could, fog up, get sweat, just any sort of, condensation. Until I found these, and it's changed everything for me. And what I really liked was the adjustability of it. Now, I'm curious to know about that because I was singing the praises of these glasses a couple of days ago to a member at the club that Patrick and I play, and she was concerned because she has a bit more of a narrow nose bridge, and I said there's spacers that come with these glasses that you can adjust to really kind of fit your face. So if you need to adjust more on the side, on the nose bridge, wherever, it's all part of the design. And it comes in a nice little sort of hard carrying case that protects them from misshapen and any sort of damage. But it seems like everything is so perfectly thought out. Or is that just how it's, is that your handiwork in marketing a finished product, or is that just sort of how it came together?
Well, like I said at the start with the Apple and Facebook examples, you want to make something insanely great, and you really want to challenge. And one of the things that we wanted to challenge more than anything was impact testing. So we were on behalf of my nephew who had some significant relationships in the military testing space. We went to a NASA/military testing center in Maryland. We took our products, we took the competitive products. We fired a pickleball 60 miles an hour in various degrees and various refractions. Some of the ones you mentioned, most of them failed. Okay, they failed for a bunch of reasons. One, when people and you get people that are thinking, no disrespect, a little too smart for their own good. I can take any pair of glasses, pop them out, pay $5, and what do I get? Well, the structure, and when they talk about the build of a glass, and when you gave, the numbers of it, it's all combined, like you're talking about building anything. All of those elements go together. So when you take out the lenses, what happened when we tested? They broke apart. So at 60 miles an hour, I don't think you want a piece of plastic or whatever's made indented in your, I hate to say eye, because that
might be worse than the ball itself, actually.
Or any other part, and the paddles.
Exactly.
So anybody who's popping them out, they can be proud and satisfied. It's incredibly dangerous. Half of the products we tested, which are competitive products, their lenses blew out immediately. And when they blew out immediately, they either refracted or went towards the pupil or just went in the air. And then just from common sense, and when you see some of the higher end ones that are, over the $100 price point, when you're getting an impact of a ball there, your lens is going to get scratched and you're going to have to replace them. So we're very fortunate that iView we're not competitive with anybody with our offering. And it's a personal choice, but as well, like the lady that you mentioned to Patrick or Johan, we're not for everybody. It's a unique look. It's amazing that we are completely over-indexing in Quebec. And Quebec I'm making a generalization, but they're always the first market to be early adopters are anything new and anything with enhanced technology.
Really? Interesting.
So they were the first adopters of Apple. They're first adopters of, if you're looking for a higher sports car or something that's new and unique and makes them feel maybe look a little bit different. So I'm blown away by how much we are in Quebec. British Columbia significantly, Ontario, but for sure Quebec being a dominant area. And then something magical happened. I have a friend who plays on the Pro Tour, a gentleman named Ryan Sherry. And Ryan Sherry, he also goes by the name Cher Bear. He's in the football business. He was an All-American playing tennis at Florida for the Gators, and was one of those originals. So when it talks about the original guys out on the courts, he was there. He still plays. He's playing today in Atlanta in the main draw. Good buddies with Jeannie, provided her advice on the tour, Jack Sock. But Fort Myers was a real mecca in the early days for young pro pickleball players.
Yeah.
They've since moved out. And there's a few newer ones. And he was playing, I guess, about 6 months ago with this kid who they were playing somebody who had a delaminated paddle, and an extra delaminated paddle for your listeners means the ball explodes into an area that nobody can measure, and other than it. There's a reason why they're banned, and there's a reason why that's dangerous.
Right.
And he got concerned training, and Ryan said, my buddy developed this product. Check it out and put it on. And he put it on, and he went, I just became more confident, and I am a confident young person. But more importantly, it's providing me a focus that's allowing me to dial in on the ball in a way that I never have before. It's enhanced my focus, one, for feeling safe, but I think I can perform better with them. And that performance is going to make the difference of 1 or 2 or 3 points. And I want to be the best player in the world.
I find that too, Brad. I think you nailed it right there. That confidence. I find if I'm not wearing them, I'm not confident playing. Like it's to that point with me now. And I think, I don't know if it's just sort of a trauma associated with the injury initially from last summer, or if it's just sort of, growing accustomed to having that sort of sense of security about my eyes. You got one set of eyes and that's it. One thing I noticed, I played a tournament last weekend, and about 30% of the people that were there were wearing kitchen blockers. And I think this kind of goes back to, not necessarily at a pro level you need them, but at a novice or even sort of intermediate level where, you recognize the need for safety equipment and, what's going to work for you. And these just sort of, regardless of sort of where your eyes are at, whether you need prescriptions or otherwise, it was interesting to see that it was so popular and so many people were wearing them.
Well, thank you for that. And like you said, this is what is personal for you to enhance and ultimately have you enjoy your experience of something you love to the best of your ability. So when we talk about customization, it's like, when we're looking at the medical area too, when we now have to be really conscious of personalized medicine. Patrick, what's right for you? Patrick, what's right in terms of, treatment and managing your wife? Johan, what's right for you? Brad, what's right for you with my bad leg, etc. What we've tried to apply with the blockers is everybody's face is different. Now, we have a lot of Asian customers. Their construction is quite different too. We're looking at different designs to address their structure and their contours, specifically of their nose. We find that on some people with a smaller face, they look a little bit bigger and awkward. So we have a slim fit one that is in production. And not most importantly, but our next priority is we're developing a kids product.
Great idea.
Excellent idea. I applaud that.
I think you really need to start with the foundation, much like you look at hockey helmets and visors. Nobody should get on a court without wearing something to protect their eyes. Right. You can't get the back. It's crazy that you would think about it. Now, the confidence, the testosterone, the machoism of why would I do that? That's something that you're going to have to deal with yourself in terms of outcomes. But it is really what's driving us. And back to the story. So the young man, he's on the court, I think, in about probably 15 minutes today in Atlanta. His name's Zane Ford. He's 20 years old. He's gone from being an unknown to he beat in the last month Ben Johns. He beat the number 5 player in the world. He has a unique look to him. He wears.
He also is a 6'0".
Zane is the face of 6'0".
Yeah, that's right.
He wears them in singles, which is unusual. He wears them based on what you said, Johan. It provides him dialed in and focus as strongly as possible. You mentioned a couple new teams that are starting in the women. Certain members of those teams have reached out.
Right.
And said,
right.
Good.
And through their agent, it's been interesting. Their agent said, hey, this is not something I typically do, but my players are asking for your product.
That's great.
Can I check it out? And I believe the main reason why they're acting is somewhat safety concerns, for sure, confidence, but most importantly, the idea that you are dialed in and you are more focused and it enhances your performance. Combination of all those things, but that's what a significant amount of our customers are playing back. And with the individuality, yes, do I want to put some pads on my nose? Do I want to have it in terms of my eyes? Do I need more pads? We're happy to send anybody more pads. Is the strap, do I want the strap on? Do I want it off? The product and the materials we use are very compliable. So you can literally bend them and move them, and they will stay in a place that you want to. They won't break. And if something does happen and there's a problem with it, we'd be happy to replace them anyways. And we're trying to create a movement of changing the face of pickleball. And
I think you are. I'm just going to interject for a moment. Johan's going to have a hard stop shortly.
No problem.
I put on mine. Mine are white ones. They're very comfortable. I have a clear. By the way, I should mention both Johan and myself have bought these. We did not ask you for these. We bought them. We're customers, but we're endorsing them as well. I find it incredibly comfortable. I've got a pretty big noggin, so they're just right. The side arm has some flexibility to it. This is fairly rigid, but it makes me confident. I found you talk about the bottom.
The speed bump.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was, but I know if it went the other way, it would be hitting my bone there. So this works well for me as well. We're going to have a hard stop in a few minutes, so I just want to remind folks to click like, click subscribe, leave a comment, enter our contests. All of the info regarding this will be in the show notes. Brad, you have been a fantastic guest. I love it.
Agreed. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate you joining us today.
You gave us a ton of information that we didn't have insight to at all. We just knew we liked the product, and which is good. But it's fun to hear the story behind the product as well. So with that said, guys, we're going to say goodbye. I want to thank you again.
Before we do, Brad, tell us where we can get these. And Pat, if you want to mention the discount code, I think it's PBToday 10, I believe, is a discount code.
PBToday 10.
It's kitchenblockers.com.
Okay.
We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram as well. And most importantly, get out, play pickleball, have an amazing time, meet some new people, stay safe in the kitchen, and thank you for changing the face of pickleball. We really appreciate your support.
Well, we thank you, and I'm enjoying these. I mean, I didn't mention, by the way, I had eye surgery over the last month, both eyes. This is the first time in my life I'm playing pickleball without regular glasses, but it's probably the last time I play without kitchen blockers. So I'm a definite fan, but I also am really excited that I don't need eyewear anymore. So and it's Fact's first podcast without eyewear too. So I just wanted to show the white ones. I have a clear set on the way. But with that said, thank you again. Thank you, Johan. We'll see you guys in the next episode over the next few weeks. Go to pickleballtoday.co for more info. And again, everything is in the show notes. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.